Hello friends, today is 26th April 2023. At least some of you might be aware that this day is observed as International Flamingo Day. This celebration of this day has started from 2020 by the Flamingo Specialist Group of the IUCN. This day is celebrated in the memory of birthday of John James Audubon. The John James Audubon was the famous American painter and ornithologist who produced a remarkable and eye-catching life-size picture of American flamingo, which is also called Caribbean flamingo. And this picture was used in an iconic book, The Birds of America. Friends, you might be aware that there are about 6 species of flamingos all over the world. Greater flamingo, lesser flamingo, Indian flamingo, Chilean flamingo, James's flamingo, and Caribbean flamingo or American flamingo. Out of these 6 species, 2 species, that is greater flamingo and lesser flamingos, they very much occur in our country, India, and it is a very nice coincidence, or rather I would say contradiction, that the greater flamingo is the tallest among all the flamingos and the lesser flamingo is the shortest among all the flamingos occurring in the world. So India has both the tallest and the shortest flamingos. Foundation for Ecological Welfare often observes such special days through online programs, and the foundation has decided to observe this International Flamingo Day also by means of a short online program. In this program, we have arranged 2 talks on flamingos by the persons who have dedicated themselves to study the flamingos. One of them is quite young, who has started his career as a doctoral scholar of Wildlife Institute of India. His name is Gaurav Sirola, and the other one is a retired Chief Conservator of Forest of Gujarat Forest Department. So one is quite young and one is quite senior, but both of them are so zealous about flamingos that others can take examples from them. First, I will invite Gaurav Sirola to talk about flamingos based on his PhD research. Let me introduce Gaurav Sirola. Gaurav Sirola was born and brought up in a small village named Jingal, located in Pithoragarh district of Uttarakhand in the Himalayas. Since childhood, he has been very close to nature, especially the plants. He used to plant trees, and even he started making his own herbarium when he was in class 9. Further, with the time, this interest moved from plants to animals, and he did his graduation in zoology honors from Sri Guru Tegh Bahadur Khalsa College, University of Delhi. Then he did his master's in zoology from Jivaji University, Gwalior in 2016. While working on research projects at Wildlife Institute of India, Dehradun, he got an opportunity to work in both the Western Himalayas and in the Terai landscape, thanks to Dr. G.S. Rawat, who was his supervisor at that time. Since then, he had an interest in birds, and that interest went on increasing with time. Currently, he is pursuing his PhD in wildlife science from the Wildlife Institute of India under the supervision of Dr. R. Suresh Kumar. He studies flamingos in Kutch district of Gujarat. Kutch is home to two flamingo species, greater and lesser flamingos, which are also known as Old World flamingos. These birds are specialized filter feeders and forage by filtering food out of water. The Run of Kutch is the largest breeding site of these species in southern Asia, and every year hundreds of birds arrive during monsoon for breeding. Along with the migratory population, there are resident populations of flamingos too. And he is studying the fine scale movement of these resident flamingos using GPS GSM transmitters, and he also tries to understand how fluctuation in food resources, that is cyanobacteria and algae, influence space use by the flamingos. So now, without taking much of your time, I invite Gaurav Sirola to share his knowledge and experience of working with flamingos. So welcome, Gaurav. Please share the screen.
Warm good afternoon to one and everyone. Today we are here to celebrate International Flamingo Day. And my name is Gaurav Sirola, and I am a PhD scholar, and I have been working on flamingos for past 3 years for my PhD thesis. So you would wonder why I have titled my presentation Specialized Filter Feeder. So I will talk about specialized filter feeding first, and then we will proceed. So if we say flamingos are specialized filter feeders. So here, when we talk about filter feeders, we might a question might arise in our mind that what are filter feeders? So basically, filter feeders are a set of organisms which the mode of feeding is by filtering their surrounding environment. So for filtering the substrate or the surrounding environment, there are number of helpful organs which help these organisms, and those organisms can be pores. Pores means holes, hole on a surface. They may be cilia. Cilia are like a small hairy projections on the surface of their body. They can be branches, and some animals uses this mucus layer on their body surface to attract or to trap the food particles. And then certain set of organisms uses hair-like structure or a comb-like structure to filter out organisms from their environment. So when we talk about flamingos, so the flamingos employ this comb-like structures in their mouth for filtering water. So here you can see in the image that the section of flamingo's beak is shown, and it is having a straight line-like structures. All these structures are called lamellae, and as you see, these lamellae have a certain width, and it helps flamingos to trap the food particles of that certain length in these lamellae, and then through the tongue, the sucking force is generated and the food is taken inside the stomach. So the flamingos are a certain set of specialized organisms which extensively forage by filter foraging, and these are the organisms which this is the function which make these organisms a specialized filter feeder. So moving further, we might uh, know we should know that the classification and how many species of flamingos exist in the whole world. So if we talk about the whole world, there are six different species of flamingos. And coming to into the classification, the flamingos have been classified into grouped into an order which is known as Phenicopteriformes, and the family is Phenicopteridae. And as I discussed that the flamingos has a specialized feeding apparatus inside their mouth. So based on the apparatus of this filters, the flamingos is subdivided into two different subfamilies. One is called Phenicopterus, and in this Phenicopterus clade, there are three species which come. One is Greater Flamingo, another is Caribbean Flamingo, and third one is Chilean Flamingo. And the second subfamily is Phenicopterus, and this in this clade lesser flamingos, Andes flamingo and James flamingos occur. So basic difference between these two subfamilies is that in the Phenicopterus, the this filter apparatus is much more wider than in the another family where the lesser flamingos comes, and this is the major difference between the two families which we have for the flamingos. So moving further, we question might arise in our mind that all these six species of flamingos are found where. So the flamingo species is divided into two main areas, and one area is called Old World flamingos, and the another flamingos of another area is called New World flamingos. So, as the word suggests, the origin of the flamingos which has the origin from Africa are called Old World flamingos, and the two species, the greater flamingos and the lesser flamingos, come into this category, and they are spreaded across the African continent, and then Asian continent, and the European continent. Whereas the New World flamingos, the American flamingos, the Andes flamingos, the James flamingos, and the Chilean flamingos come into this uh, New World of flamingos, and they all are situated in northern and central, northern, and southern America. So if we come to the topic that what are the species of flamingos which are found in India. So in India, two species of flamingos are found. One is called greater flamingo, and another one is called lesser flamingo. The overall the global population of the greater flamingos is around 5 to 6 lakh, and they have an average lifespan of up to 60 years, and the weight ranges from 2 kg to 4 kg, and they are about 1.5 meter tall from toe to head. Whereas the lesser flamingos are they are have a vast population. The overall global population is estimated to be between 20 to 30 lakhs, and their lifespan is 10 years shorter than of the greater flamingos, and they weight around 1.2 to 2.7 kg, and their height is almost half of the greater flamingos. And according to the IUCN, the greater flamingos is categorized at least concern, whereas the lesser flamingo is categorized near threatened. If we come to India's Wildlife Protection Act, both the two species of flamingos have been put in Scheduled to list. So if we go to a area and we want to know how we can identify lesser and the greater flamingos separately. So there are two main key features which can help us identifying the two flamingo species. One is that height. The lesser flamingo is the smallest of all the flamingos, and greater flamingo is the great, as the name suggests, greater is the largest of all the flamingo species found across the world. So, if we see the beak of the greater flamingos, it is pale pinkish in color, and the tip is dark black. Whereas, if we see the beak of the lesser flamingos, it is dark reddish, and the tip is slightly pinkish, and the tip of the tongue is dark black. And if you see the body plumages, the lesser flamingo appear more reddish, whereas the greater flamingo appear more whitish to pinkish. So these are the major identification marks on the basis of which we can distinguish between the lesser and the greater flamingos. If we come to the distribution of flamingos in India, the greater flamingos is widely distributed, and it occur from northern states of Haryana to the southern most tip of Indian subcontinent and up to Sri Lanka. Whereas if we see the lesser flamingos population is majorly concentrated onto the western parts of India, and there are some pockets in the southern India where this population exists, and there is a major difference between the lesser and the greater flamingos distribution, and it's that the lesser flamingo is not that widespread as of the greater flamingo. If we see that distribution of greater and lesser flamingos via the eBird, it is quite distinguished that the factor that the greater flamingos is much more widespread as compared to the lesser flamingos. So if we talk about the habitat of the flamingos, the wetland are the major primary habitats of the flamingos. So these wetlands can be further categorized as inland wetland, coastal wetlands, and unique run habitat. The flamingos are also found in the coastal areas, the coastal mudflats, and the primarily human modified coastal habitat, the salt pans. They are being found to be holding a large population of flamingos. Apart from these all natural habitats, the flamingos are also found to utilize the rivers and dams, and are majorly the greater flamingos uses these habitats, whereas the um, lesser flamingos are primarily associated with the habitat which is highly saline. Moving further, if we talk about the what flamingos eat, the flamingos eat a large variety of food, from crustaceans to microscopic algae and diatoms. If we talk about greater flamingos are journalistics, and their food spectrum varies from a very large scale. They eat from prawns to larvae to gastropods. Whereas if we talk about lesser flamingos, the lesser flamingos are food is limited up to this microscopic blue green algae and diatoms. The major point of attraction in the flamingos is their foraging behavior. As discussed earlier, the flamingos are a specialized filter feeder. So they have a unique way of filtering the food out of the water. So in this I will show you a small video. Here, flamingos can be seen doing stamping. So they basically on the wetland surface, they stamp with their legs, and when they stamp, the substrate is lifted up and suspended into the water, and then this water is filtered through the comb-like structures in their beak, and the food items are filtered, and the rest of the water is expelled out from the beak. And this is the unique way of flamingos foraging. And when the flamingo forage by this method, they keep on moving in the water body, and this movement creates a trail, and these trails are quite popular in flamingos. Flamingos sometimes also forage like ducks, where the water level is quite higher, so they float on the water surface, and the beak touches the substrate of the water, and this helps in the foraging of the flamingos. So moving further, about talking about the movement and migration of flamingos in Indian subcontinent, it is believed that the flamingo population is both migrant and local resident breeding population. So in the early 90s, there was a extensive ringing activity in Iran, breeding site in Iran, and from where the large number of flamingos were ringed, and those ring recoveries have been discovered in the western part and the northern part of India, which suggests that the population of greater flamingos, specifically the greater flamingos, they move from Asian to the African continent, whereas no such ringing recoveries of greater flamingos have been found from India, which suggests that they might not be moving frequently, but there have been certain genetic studies which suggest that the African and there is an intermixing between the population of flamingos from African and the Indian subcontinent. So it is like we need to study more into the movement patterns of the flamingos to establish these movement and migration patterns. The breeding behavior of flamingos. So the flamingos are quite well known for their breeding plumages and their mating rituals. So as the breeding season approaches, the flamingo congregate in large numbers into small wetlands, and they show varying type of breeding or mating rituals. A well-known mating ritual is called a wing salute, where the flamingos, they rapidly move their head, and then spread their wings across to attract the females. Post these breeding rituals, there is extensive nest buildings. So the flamingos select remote islands or remote places for their nest building, and they make a nest out of the mud, and they form a mound, and they lay their eggs into those mounds. These nesting is basically a community nesting, where a large number of flamingos congregate, and they build their nest, and these nests can also be of different species, like lesser flamingos or and greater flamingo nesting together, and or they can be of single species, where we find extensive number of species, lesser flamingos or the greater flamingos nest. Here in this image, we can see that a single species nest, where only the lesser flamingo have nest. So if we see the other factor influencing their nesting behavior, so it is interesting to find that the water levels in the breeding areas have been found to greatly influence the nesting behavior of the flamingos, where the more the water level, the more the number of extensive nesting has been found. The interesting thing about the nesting behavior of flamingos is that the parental care in the flamingos is quite less. The flamingos post the chicks are fledged out of their eggs, the flamingos care for the nest for their fledglings for only 7 to 10 days, and post that the fledglings they move out of the nest, and they form a large crush, and these crush then move across the nesting sites, and they forage into the water. If we see the development of flamingos in the very early stage of the development, the flamingo chicks are pale grayish in color. So as they grow, they take more and more amount of food, and these food contain beta carotenoids, and these are the pigments which are responsible for the color plumage in the flamingos. So as the young chicks are there, they are not much more colorful, but as the flamingos grow in their age, they eat more and more carotenoid rich food, and their plumage gets more and more bright. So if we are we have talked all about that flamingos behavior and their basic life history. So we would a question might arise in our mind that what are the importance of flamingo? So the flamingos are important keystone species in the wetlands ecosystem, where they play a major ecological role, or they have a very great deep ecological function which help in maintaining the health of their ecosystem. So there have been various research on that flamingos and their impact on their environment. So it has been found that flamingos are important nutrient regulator into the water, into the wetland, or into the wetland ecosystem where they are found. As the flamingos are the filter feeders, so along with that various organisms, they also feed on the organic load in the wetlands. So the flamingos basically help reduce the organic load and convert it into uh, a nutrient-rich resource in the form of their feces, which is highly concentrated in nitrates and phosphate, which is in turn helpful for growth of various microorganisms like cyanobacteria and algae into the water. Another major function of the flamingos is when they forage in the wetland, they help in uh, stimulating the dead and dead and decay matter which is in that sediment of the lakes. It help in regulating the flow of that matter, so that other organisms act upon these organic matter, and they help in the decomposition of the dead and decaying matter in the lake. As we see that in the small wetland ecosystem, the flamingos are at highest trophic level, so they help in regulating the population of um, primary consumers, which are basically shrimps larvae, and which in turn help in regulating the population of diatoms and the biofilm. So here we see the flamingos are functioning in ecological ecosystem in top to bottom role, where the top position holder is controlling or regulating the population of the lower trophic levels. So if we talk about the threats faced by the flamingos, uh, being in large number, but still the flamingos faces a majority of threats, which include the collisions with that energy infrastructure. The flamingos are basically nocturnal flyers. So when they take flight during night, these energy infrastructure like power line, transmission lines or cables, they are not able to see it, and large number of mortalities happen across the globe. Another important factor which is limiting or the threat to the greater flamingos is that decaying health of our wetlands due to due to the increase in that population. The pressure in the wetland ecosystem has increased in the form of pollution, and this is a major threat. Another threat to the flamingos is the limited availability of breeding site. The flamingos are quite shy breeders. They require quite undisturbed and remote places for their breeding. So with the development in the human activities, so these situations of remote wetlands or remote islands for the flamingos is becoming limited. So this is reducing the success rate of flamingos breeding every year. Another important challenge which flamingos are facing is climate change. So due to the climate change, the climate change is directly impacting the amount of rainfall. So the amount of rainfall, as in some places it is quite high, or in some places drought-like conditions happen. So as the wetland, as the flamingos are wetland associated species, so the drought conditions are quite deadly, and it is one of the major threat to the flamingos population across the world. So moving further, I would like to talk about what I study in my PhD thesis. So basically, I am in my PhD thesis, I am trying to understand more about the flamingos in Kutch. If we talk about the Kutch landscape, we are quite well aware about the Kutch being the largest district of the state, and it is of the not the Gujarat state only, but of whole over India. The Kutch is the largest state, largest district, and it also have the two largest wetlands ecosystems in the whole country, and they are known as Greater Run and the Little Run. So as we talk about Kutch, there is image of Flamingo City in every bird lover mind. So the Flamingo City is a large bed where the flamingos congregate in large numbers and they breed there. Whereas another image comes when we talk about Kutch is the wildest. So it is a last range for the wildest in the whole world. Apart from this, the people have a common perception that in Kutch is the breeding site of flamingos, and the flamingos arrive in the Kutch in large numbers, and they breed here. So after breeding, where these flamingos go, there is very little or limited information available about this topic. So in my PhD thesis, I try to answer this question like, is the Kutch only the breeding site of the flamingos, or it is full-time home of flamingos, and the flamingos which are coming into the Kutch for breeding, where those flamingos population are coming. So to understand this behavior of flamingos coming into the Kutch, I started a movement tracking of flamingos, where the select individual of flamingos were tagged with GPS GSM tag. The GPS GSM tag is a 30-gram tracking device which is powered by which is solar powered, and it is having a GPS GSM unit inside it. So GPS functions is to collect the location of the bird, and the GSM, which is a mobile SIM technology. So through GSM network, it transmit data back to the servers, from where it is received in the form of SMS and Excel sheet. So we know where the bird is at a particular time. So we attach this tag onto the back of flamingos using a Teflon harness, like a backpack, and it is called a backpack transmitter. And we can modify the time interval of data collection. So we uses a 10-minute interval for our data collection. So it means that at every 10-minute time interval, the GPS location of the flamingo will be recorded, and every day in a cycle of 24 hours, it will be sent to us for information. So till now we have successfully tagged around 8 flamingos, 4 lesser flamingos, and 4 greater flamingos, and during this tracking period, we have found that specifically for the greater flamingos, we have found the flamingos which was tagged in Kutch from the Modwa beach. We named it Modwa, and we found that the birds spend quite a time during the non-breeding period in the Modwa beach, and as the breeding season approaches, it moved to towards the greater run where this bird is bred at Flamingo City, and post breeding it went back to the Modwa beach, and for some time it went to Porbandar coastline, and as and all those areas were used during the non-breeding period, whereas in the breeding period it extensively used the areas of the greater run of Kutch. Moving about another bird which was tagged from Full Ramsar site. So this bird also showed the same behavior. So during the non-breeding period, it spent its time in Thol, but as the breeding period appeared, which was in line with the monsoon, the bird moved towards Little Run of Kutch, from where it went to Greater Run, and finally it bred at Flamingo City. So we have found that all the birds which we tagged during the greater flamingos which we tagged, they are the resident breeder population of flamingos. Moving further, if we see about if we talk about that movement of lesser flamingos tagged. So the lesser flamingos tagged in the Kutch district, they spent their non-breeding period at the salt pans and the coastal areas of the Kutch near the Gadidam area. As the breeding season approaches, the bird first moved to the Little Run of Kutch, from where it moved to the Greater Run of Kutch and bred at this Bela Moana breeding site. And post breeding, it returned back to the shore, the Gulf of Kutch, and from where it moved up towards Bhavnagar. And the Bhavnagar, it was the last location of the bird. Moving further, another flamingo attacked, the lesser flamingo attacked, it also showed the same behavior like the prior bird. The flamingo was tagged at Mithi Lahore wetland, a coastal wetland in uh, Kutch, and during non-breeding period, the flamingo uses the salt pans and the surrounding wetlands. And as the breeding season approaches, it moves similarly, first into the later run of Kutch, and then from there it went to the greater run of Kutch. Not the Flamingo City, but the another breeding site of the lesser flamingos, and it moved back to its original tagging place at the salt pans near Mithi. From this tracking effort, we have come to various interesting information on the fine scale movement of the flamingos. In the fine scale movement, we were able to know how the bird moved during the breeding and the non-breeding season. We also got to know various insights on the flight behavior. The interesting insight which we got was that all the birds which were tracked, they made major flights during night time. So by this study, the nocturnal flight behavior, we have got the evidence of nocturnal flight behavior of the flamingos. Besides this, we also found that the movement of the flamingos into the run or into the lesser run or the greater run was highly influenced by the arrival of the monsoon. So the bird moved just as the monsoon arrived. So in one year the monsoon was delayed, so the bird movement was also delayed, and another year when the monsoon arrived a month earlier, so the bird also moved in the same fashion. So we have also been able to find the high use areas. So we primarily found that the greater flamingo, they uses the western part of the Kutch extensively, whereas the lesser flamingos, they are more towards the eastern part of the Kutch, and they uses the habitat close to the mouth of the Gulf of Kutch and the little run of Kutch extensively, whereas the greater flamingos in the Kutch, they are found both in the inland wetlands and the coastal wetlands. these the movement and the tracking effort have led to the identification of the nesting areas for the flamingos. The greater flamingos have been found nesting in the Flamingo city, whereas the lesser flamingos, interestingly, during our 3-year tracking study, we found the lesser flamingo nesting in both the greater run of Kutch, the Bela Moana nesting site, and another nesting site in the little run of Kutch, salt pans, and which is quite different from the greater flamingos, because the greater flamingo, they extensively breed in the nest in the flamingo city. They don't usually move out from the nesting from the flamingo city, whereas the lesser flamingos, it is dependent on the amount of rainfall. So if the rainfall is quite high, they move towards this greater run of Kutch for breeding. Another important information is the migration of flamingos. However, during our tracking study, we were not able to uh, find that a long distance migration of the flamingos. We were not able to track the long distance migration of the flamingos. However, the local migration of flamingos were observed, where the flamingos moved during the breeding and the non-breeding season, and this outcome of this our tracking effort was limited to only 8 individuals. So we envisage that if more number of individuals are tagged during the breeding season, we would also have a better understanding about the uh, movement, migration of flamingos, the flamingos which are coming directly to the greater run or the little run during the breeding season. We would also be able to know from where these flamingos population come. So with this, I would end my presentation here, and I thank Dr. Ketan Tatu for providing me this opportunity to present on the flamingos, and I thank you all once again.
Thank you, Gaurav, for your wonderful presentation. I am sure that many youngsters like you who have interest in nature must have enjoyed your talk about flamingos, talk on the flamingos. Now we move to our next talk, and this talk is given by Mr. Uday Vora. Mr. Uday Vora is a very well-known figure in the subject area of ornithology and nature conservation in Gujarat. He is a retired Chief Conservator of Forests, Gujarat Forest Department, Government of Gujarat. Mr. Vora was a member of National Wetland Committee of Central Government, Government of India. As I said, he is an avid bird watcher, or rather I would say he is an ornithologist, definitely. And he has been an inspiration to thousands of young nature lovers in Gujarat and India. Mr. Uday Vora has special love for flamingos, and he has explored vast runs in search of flamingo congregations, flamingo breeding, etc. He has also studied flamingos in Gulf of Cambay, and his journey of exploring flamingos has started from the time of Dr. Salim Ali. And in fact, Dr. Salim Ali had written him a letter in remote past about his exploration about flamingo congregation in Little Run. Mr. Vora has played an instrumental role in organizing waterfowl censuses in Gujarat. He started to play an instrumental role in waterfowl census at Nal Sarovar, which is the first Ramsar site of Gujarat, and with his lion's share, the waterfowl census at Nal Sarovar had started in 1992, and it still continues. He has also played an instrumental role in arranging waterfowl censuses at some other important wetlands of Gujarat like Gosabara, Mokasagar. So we are really fortunate to have him, though he's a senior citizen, I'm sorry to say that, but his passion and his enthusiasm would compete with any youngster as far as birds are concerned, and you will realize when he will be talking with us during this in this program. So I welcome Mr. Vora for his talk on flamingos.
Sir, your passion for flamingos since many years is very well known, especially for the nature lovers in Gujarat. They all know your interest in flamingos. So, can you share your interesting experience about lesser flamingos and greater flamingos in Run of Kutch, especially?
So, in 1984, my first posting was the Chinkara Sanctuary in the Bhuj as ACF.
Okay. Okay.
And as a part of that, my posting, we walked down up to the Flamingo City area. At that time, there was one file was running that after 79, there was no breeding of the flamingo is recorded. And there was a committee to look after why the flamingos have stopped breeding, what are the reasons for that. After that, 84 December, if I am not forgetting, 84 December,
okay.
The well-known wildlifer Kailash Sankla came to visit the litter of Kutch. I was posted in the wildlife sanctuary.
Okay,
he and one Japanese photographer, Shin Yoshino, they both came to the litter of Kutch. And Sankla sir told me that he wants to go to the place where on 360 degree to him, there should not be any sign of the human habitation.
Okay.
To take him in a deep part of the run.
Okay.
So I took them to I said that you may see some island kind of a thing, but no human habitation. While visiting that area, we could find 2 eggs of the flamingos.
Okay.
Might be
were they deserted eggs? Okay.
Deserted, it came with water, with the flow of the water.
Okay.
So
okay.
Two separate eggs were there.
Okay.
Now, meanwhile, I have developed one idea that though the flamingos, if they are not breeding in the Great Run of Kutch, but they must be breeding somewhere in our territory, because every year we used to see the young ones, juveniles. So they must be breeding somewhere which is not known to the human being.
Okay, sir.
So after Sankla sir left, I went to that place again from where I have seen the 2 eggs.
Okay.
And then I started walking upstream of the direction of the water.
Okay.
On this side, the flamingo had drawn to that place.
Okay.
I remember in two or 3 days, I might have walked about 35 kilometers. Where the,
oh my God. Okay.
If jeep cannot go, I will ask the jeep to stay there. I will walk in the mud and then.
Okay.
And in litter of Kutch, I found a colony of the about 10,000 nests of the flamingo in litter of Kutch.
Okay.
The nesting was over, but the mounds were there, unhatched eggs were there, few died chicks were there.
Okay.
More than 10,000 nests.
Was it in mid-80s? Was it in mid-80s?
It was 85 January.
Okay.
84 December, 85 January.
Okay, sir.
And when I started looking for the literature, Salim Ali sir had said that he believes it likely to, he could not locate the flamingos, but he has seen a huge congregation of the flamingos in Little Nun.
Okay.
In the Tutari Bay.
Okay.
This place, I could find out the nesting. And then I kept on trying to find out nesting wherever is possible, other than the Flamingo City area. Flamingo City, I visited in 2009, then again I visited in 2020. 20 probably there are 3 visits. But apart from that Flamingo City area, that is a single bed area.
And that is in Great Run of Kutch. Yeah.
That is in Great Run of Kutch.
Great Run of Kutch.
In the Great Run of Kutch itself, in 2012, about 7,500 nests were found on the northern tip of the Great Run of Kutch adjoining Banaskantha, near Rudrani village.
I see.
About 7,500. Then again was trying to look for, I would try to gather the information for the staff, observers, birders and what there. 2015-16, probably prior to that in 2009-10, late Bahubudi Parashari found the deserted nest near Bela Movana. So that was also promising site near Bela Movana, opposite in Great Run of Kutch. They are nesting. So I started looking for that area. And very interestingly, we could find about 40 to 50,000 nests in the Great Run of Kutch. But the first one also the nesting was over. Very interesting phenomena. Very interesting. It was a old road. The alignment which was the BSF was constructed road through the run, which has been deserted. That was given up. So that was a naturally elevated because of the road construction. There was one kind of a thing. So a narrow strip, very narrow strip, might be hardly 10-15 meter width, and they were nesting. And then after probably almost every year, 16, 18, 19, 20, we could find the nesting of the flamingos in that area. They were mixed, lesser and greater both. Lesser
both of them.
More, lesser were more in the very few were the greater. Then again we found nesting. I kept on. I had moved. There is a place known as the Nadabet. Nadabet is on the Great Run of Kutch on the northern part near Suigang.
Yes.
That island is a that is a vegetated island. There is a BSF headquarters. There is a temple.
Right.
The entire region from there to Pakistan border. There is a road now, and all along the border also there is a road. So I took the permission from the BSF and I moved all along that border. And then I returned from the Rajasthan side. There is a village known as the Kundalia, Mavasri, and then there is a place known as the Radosan. So along the Radosan edge, there were about 20,000 greater flamingos. They were nesting. They were courtship display. We have seen the kids. But that was in recently around 2016-17 only. Now it is established that they are breeding not only in the single bed. The Flamingo City area single bed is purely greater flamingos only. But this place near Kuda, beyond Rapar, before Khadir Island, about 100,000 lesser flamingos were there. That is the
which year, sir?
Monsoon of the 2020.
2020. Very recently.
Very recently. But there were from 16 to 20 every year they were breeding.
Sir.
I also observed that the lesser flamingos are probably making a mistake. See, after 85 my location in the Little of Kutch, then after probably around 95, 96 onwards, every year almost there are incidences of the lesser flamingo nesting in the Little of Kutch. My observation is that more than 70% of the nest, they are deserted. This is not successful. And I feel that the lesser flamingos are deceived because these nesting sites are within the salt pans. So within the salt pans, when the water is there, they find that there is a good level for making the nest. But then after the salinity increases, there is no food. Water recedes from the surrounding area of the salt pan, and
I
then
understand.
ultimately deserted.
Right. Okay, so they are deceived. Okay.
Yeah, I
Right.
feel that they are deceived.
Right.
And
Unintentionally. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then
Right.
even from the department, I talked to the officials, and we had asked all the Solpar workers that before monsoon will leave the site, they have
Okay.
to open up the bund from the two sides or three sides, so water do not
O-
get accumulated in the bund.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, but even though few leave as it is difficult to monitor,
Okay.
and in that
And
case,
sir, you have taken a number of interesting video clips of greater and lesser flamingo congregations. And with your help, we will share those clips with our viewers.
sure.
So they are very, very interesting clips.
The
Sir,
Gujarat
can
has
I
got
move to? Yeah.
just a minute.
Yeah.
Gulf of Cambay,
Okay.
area.
Right.
From my side, I have given that point as a golden triangle. The golden
Acha.
triangle
Okay.
is something like, see, if you look at from north to south, Sabarmati is flowing,
Okay.
Sabarmati River, east to west, the
Yeah.
Mahi River is flowing, and south
Okay.
to north is Gulf of Cambay. So,
So that makes a triangle.
triangle that Vadgaon
Okay.
Shikotar, Kavi is in Bharuch, and
Okay.
Bogla Dholera side is in Ahmedabad district. Now, this triangle has got a typical salinity. It is
Okay.
not as saline as other sea area, open sea.
Okay.
There is a lot of silt coming with these two rivers.
I see. Okay.
There is no definite bathymetry. Today it is a deep depth. Within after next tide it will become you will find
Okay.
it is a very shallow water kind of thing.
Okay. Right.
I've got lot many disputes with my friends. They say there are 400,000 of the lesser flamingos, but I have got
Oh,
200,000, at least minimum 200,000 lesser flamingos congregation you find in Gulf of Cambay.
that's quite
And
huge. Yeah.
quite huge. And in 2006, I walked down about 8 kilometers mud track, 8 9 kilometers
Oh my
to
God.
find out.
Okay.
And there is no place to sit even. You have
Okay.
to sit in the mud itself. I was having a toy video camera. I was not having a still camera even. I got
Okay.
that footage. The Gate Foundation has made a movie in which that footage has been used.
Okay.
On the U shape, all 200,000 flamingos approaching towards me. I am in the mid and going on the U shape. I'm
Okay.
surrounded with the lesser flamingos. And
So
this
all
flamingos
lesser
were
flamingos or
all
both the
lesser, all
species?
lesser.
All lesser.
And they, the sort of murmuration like the rosy sterling, when you
Yeah.
see the
Yeah.
kind of a murmuration with a large number of the flocks of the flamingo, it is
My
really
God.
fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Udayvora. So, with this, we have come to an end of this short online program, and I would emphasize that flamingos and wetlands, they are two sides of the same coin. Flamingos are obligatorily dependent on wetlands. They cannot survive without wetlands. So, where flamingos can survive only if wetlands can survive. So, and who would not like flamingos? They are aesthetically pleasing birds. So, everybody would like to have them. And everybody would like to see them in nature rather than in captivity. And if one wants to see these beautiful bipeds for a long time, then he or she should also be concerned with conservation of wetlands. So let us conserve flamingos and let us conserve their habitats, that is wetlands. Thank you very much.